Okay. Clicking on deck builder in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Scrolls. Today we're going to be doing something fairly unusual. I'm going to spend most of the video outside of Scrolls itself. Now, I recently spoke to Mans about how they design Scrolls, and he told me a lot of interesting stuff. So, looking at the Scrolls currently here, I'm going to design a new one based on information I can learn from Mans in the interview that I had with him. So we were discussing how... Well, first I asked him the question, how long does it take from a scroll idea to come from thoughts to being in the actual game? He said that there's lots of different ways that can happen. In the entire creation process, there's the coming up with ideas, creating artwork, implementing the scroll, testing it, balancing it, and then testing it again, and each of these steps may need to be done several times, and the order isn't very strict. So, that just shows how much work goes into one scroll. Then there's the idea document, which is a long list of ideas at Mojang. And these are ideas that they've thought up, thrown on the list, and maybe used later, they may be used at any time, just they might need some work before they are actually released. Another way is sometimes there is a spot that needs to be filled, and so they will go to the list and have a look around and they'll find it, or stuff like that. Sometimes the idea's been around for ages and they can get the scroll sorted really quickly when they need it, but that's why there's the idea document, just to keep everything in one place so if they need something to do something, they can just search through the list and find it. Which makes making scrolls quite easy since they already have them all planned. They just need some tweaking and stuff before they go in, and they need to make sure that they make sense first. Some of the time, they will make a scroll based off of the artwork, which is quite nice. I like the idea that an artist could basically create a scroll themselves just by drawing it. Now, as to the length of design of a scroll, in most cases it'll come down to creatures taking longer because they require in-game artwork and animation while they're on the board, and that makes a big difference to the amount of time because spells are just status effects. They need the artwork for the image, and then they need to be balanced. Now, as for immediate balance, when they design a scroll, they already have a formula that they use internally to create something. And if I just hop across, I think a good example of this is in energy. Because if I move right the way to the end of the spectrum, we have the Iron Ogre. So 7 energy, 7 attack, and 7 health with 3 countdown, and relentless. If this didn't have relentless, that 3 countdown might be debatable. So 777 seems like a good standard. If we could look further down in the energy, we have the Scattergunner, which is a 4-2-2 for 3. Note how different this is to the Crossbowman in order. In order, it's the same scroll. If I find it, where are you? Oh, I must have gone past it. There. 4-3-2, it's exactly the same, but it costs only 1 because it has such a long countdown. Taking 1 off of that countdown buffed up the cost to 3. So there obviously is a formula that they've worked out, and they've decided that if something takes forever to attack, that's a good reason to reduce its cost. If it has low health, that's another good reason to reduce its cost. So that's where most of their tweaks come from, and that is something that Mans said. Most of the time there will be a standard formula that gives them a rough idea, and then negative traits like sacrificing themselves after an attack will cause the cost to be reduced, i.e. Copper Automaton. Because that is also the same scroll as the previous two, but this one attacks immediately and then dies. So it's an interesting mix between those two. How the countdown's completely different, but they're still the same cost, and that's because this one dies. That's why it gets away with it. So, what I thought we'd do is we will nip over to a awesome creation from the master Kbasten and design our own scroll. Now, I've hopped over into Kbasten's Scroll Designer that's being hosted on Scrolls Guide, and he's very kindly allowed me to use it to show off this idea that I've had. So this is the amazing owl that Poi Poi has drawn for me, and this is the way in which the pictures can be moved inside of this design. It's a really nifty way. You can just scroll them around, and if you need to resize them, down here we have the zoom scale and stuff. Now, this obviously isn't a Gravehawk. In fact, I've given it the settings of that Iron Ogre, because I'm thinking we're going to create an energy creature, because there aren't too many in energy at the moment, as someone pointed out to me yesterday when discussing the patch. Because of the 50 scroll minimum of decks now, we're going to require a lot more creatures to just mess around with, and I don't know if that is the case. That was what the person was saying. I showed the guy an energy deck in which I used a lot of structures with some creatures, and it still worked. It was still a good deck, and it was still a good fight. Creatures aren't necessary, but it would always be nice to have the option to create a deck without structures if that was what someone wanted. Now, I chose this because I want to go down the route of the crossbowman and the scattergun and make something with high power, low health, but I want it to attack more often than this. So, say I were to knock that down 2, then the cost would have to increase. Now, something to point out is that this designer is very experimental, and the values that don't exist yet in the game can't be shown, so I can't increase the cost up to 8 here. It won't... Okay, KB lied to me, he said, oh wait, 8 will be, 9 won't be. Because of, yeah. 8 shows up, 9 doesn't, sadly. It's just the way it is. Same goes for the attack and stuff. So if I were to change that to 9, it just doesn't work. Which is a shame. Oh, even that doesn't work. 7. 7 is the highest it will go to because of the Iron Ogre. Now, an 8 creature, 7/2/7, attacks every single turn. Relentless and feature for Gravehawks. Gravehawk gains 1 attack. This was originally a Gravehawk, I just added in the extra detail. So, what I want to do, I've decided on an idea, and I want to create the Optimum Sniper. And this will be a creature in energy, and what I think I'll do is I'll knock its health down to 3. That's still pretty high. It's in burn range, though. So, throwing on a 4 cost here seems a bit low. Maybe knock it up to 5, I think. 5 cost creature, 7 attack, 2 health. No, 7 attack, 2 countdown, 3 health. It's pretty good. I need to get rid of the Relentless and give it the ranged attack that something called a sniper would obviously have. Now let's get rid of these as well. Optimum Sniper, range attack 2, 7, 7, 2, 3. That seems fairly balanced. That attack still feels pretty high. So, I figured we'd make something a bit more flavourful with this. The idea I'm going to go for is for each unit adjacent to Optimum Sniper, Optimum Sniper, snipers, attack is reduced by 1. That's what I'm thinking of putting. For each unit adjacent to Optimum Sniper's attack is reduced by 1. So in worst case scenario, you've got this guy down by 7? It could be a 0-2, a 0-3 if you let that happen. I think. Let me count. In a hex. Well, it's a hex, so it has 6 sides. So it could be reduced to a 1-3 with a ranged attack if you were to completely surround the guy. But if you keep him at the sides or keep him alone, his attack can be quite high. So, for this massive drawback, I feel we're safe reducing his cost down to 4. Maybe not much further than that. So, 4 cost, 7 attack, 2 countdown, 3. Anyone stood next to him, his attack drops. Alright, let's think about some buffs. If we were to give this guy a bear paw, he would become a 9/5, and that would cost a total of 6 resources. Do I think that's okay? It would be very scary to be facing that on turn 5 or 6. Maybe his attack's a bit high, or maybe his health is a bit high. One of those two. So as you can see, if you were to put a bear paw on this, it would have the health to cost ratio to make it equal to a spark and a burn, but that seems pretty hefty. It seems like if you want this guy to live, you have to put some effort in. If you want him to be a 9/5, you have to put some effort in. So I'm going to make it so that his health is a 2. Guy enters the battlefield, he is fragile. You're going to want to protect him and keep him alive. And if he stood too close to anything, he gets reductions in his health. Now imagine him up top. You've got him in the top left-hand corner with someone in front of him, and he's just firing down range. That's pretty good. But the moment you have more resistance in that lane than you can handle, that's when you start throwing out someone else. Also, he does work out against an Iron Ogre. If an Iron Ogre comes into play, he snipes him out. I think that works quite well. This guy, absolutely a rare. Was thinking about it, but no, I think that is very powerful, and his attack may even need nerfing just by 1, just so that if you don't pay attention, he can end up on 0 attack if you're very unlucky. Lore, do I want to put lore on this guy? Let's go for it. So there is my finished Optimum Sniper. This guy is a rare. He is easily killed, importantly. He's pretty devastating, I think. I think if he can keep him alive, he can handle basically anything you throw down. As far as removal goes, though, if you get him buffed, he can easily be dealt with the pushback. If you're up against energy and you need to deal with him quick, then you've got plenty of options. You've got Spark, you've got Burn, you've got Violent Dispersal, so he's not a worry there either. As far as growth goes, you've got your creatures that are hopefully smashing through anyway, so he shouldn't be a worry, but you've also got Ranger's Bane if you just need to splatter him. So this should work out with the recent ranged attack buffs, like the Concentrate Fire can be used to just immediately one-shot an idol if needed. This guy is ridiculously powerful. Bombard would make him attack with 7 resources, you can have him attack the second he's spawned, which makes him an excellent sniper. I just feel like he has plenty of ways to be dealt with, and my only other consideration is maybe we knock his health down to 1 so that he is extremely fragile. He pops out, snipes, he dies, he's probably going to be dealt with pretty quick there. So hopefully you enjoyed this interesting look into the design of a scroll and looking at this cool designer that Kbasten has made. It is really stunning. So thanks for that. Just hit save and there it is. There's the finished version. I can save the URL of this, I can save the image. This is fantastic. So thanks KB for letting me use this, and thank you for watching.